o'clock p.m. in the City Administration Center here at 301 North A Street. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. So again, it's my turn to do the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. So will you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you bow your heads in prayer? Father, we come to this day. We are so grateful to be here together. We are thankful for the wonderful event we had this morning and for the many great things that are going on in our city. Today, Father, we ask you to protect our first responders, the firemen and the policemen, Father, and our military overseas and here in America. And today, Father, we thank you that you have given us a city who cares about people. Today we ask, as we do the city's business, Father, you give us wisdom and understanding. And today, Father, we thank you for the time we have. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. So I know you've all had a chance to review the minutes of our last regular meeting. If there are no corrections, they'll be stand as approved. If anybody find any corrections.
I had one correction on the meeting when we voted for the big pool options. It had me listed as an aye for approval.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually a nay on that.
Right, okay. So we'll get that corrected. Are there any other corrections? Okay. With that correction, they will stand with that one correction. So it's now time for public comment. So again, we're going to allow 30 minutes for this. Now, if you're not on the regular agenda, this is time for that public comment. We ask you to come forward. If you will please state your name, and then you'll have 5 minutes per person. And so again, if you'll come to the microphone so that everyone can hear you, that would be great. So right now, we'll open up our time for public comment. Is there anyone that has a comment that they would like to make to the commission or the citizens of Garden City? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to item 6, is that right, ma'am?
Yep, item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Vicki Harshberger on behalf of Mosaic to allow the mayor to proclaim the week of September 13th, 2020 as Direct Support Professionals Recognition Week.
Vicki, do you want to come up and say anything?
I'll make the motion that we approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Commissioner Sesta. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
All right.
Well, my name is Scott Worley. I'm the executive director for Mosaic. I'm going to let Vicki talk in just a minute. But first of all, because I like to say as little as possible.
Oh, no, that's good.
But first of all, I want to express my appreciation because Mosaic employs over 100 DSAs, and these are folks who actually work taking care of the people that we serve. It's not an easy job, especially with COVID. You know, we're all masked up because we're trying our best to protect the safety of the people that we serve. But the DSAs are the most important thing. Without that, we could not do the job that we can do. And I'll let Vicki come up with the rest.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say a few words because superheroes are fiction, but everyday heroes are real. They wear masks and they get the job done. Mosaic Direct Support Professionals are everyday heroes. On March 17th, Mosaic needed to close our group day services, and the Mosaic Direct Support Professionals stepped up to deliver Mosaic's core values of belonging, connection, faithfulness, and grit. They faithfully showed up to work each day to provide the support that people with intellectual disabilities need to understand an unprecedented pandemic. They were proactive in making sure that individuals could at least see their loved ones during Zoom meetings. And Lauren, who is here to join us today to represent the over 80 essential direct support professionals at Mosaic, even orchestrated a frog hunt that the guys absolutely loved and had so much fun with. Mosaic Everyday Heroes have grit, and we are so honored to highlight the work that they do to embrace God's call to relentlessly pursue opportunities that empower people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. So we'll go ahead and I'll read the proclamation from here if that works, and we can get a picture, or I don't know if would you like to get a picture, Vicki, with our masks on? Okay. And if the commission would like to join for pictures, I think that would be great too. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read the proclamation from here. That way we won't be speaking to the mic, and then we will go ahead and do the picture down there. So whereas the week of September 13th, 2020 has been designated as National Direct Support Professionals Recognition Week in order to celebrate and recognize professionals who provide support to millions of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And whereas this celebration recognizes the dedication and vital role of direct support professionals in enhancing the lives of individuals with disabilities of all ages, and the community plays a role in lifting up direct support professionals as integral in supporting the needs of people with disabilities and their families through their service systems across the United States. And whereas the goal of this city properly gives recognition to those who directly help people with disabilities gain full access to housing, employment, and the recreational activities which help create productive and satisfying lives and to live as independently as possible. Now therefore I, Troy R. Unruh, Mayor of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of September 13th, 2020 as Direct Support Professional Recognition Week in Garden City, Kansas, and call upon citizens to observe this week with appropriate programs and activities. Furthermore, to encourage the citizens of Garden City to seek information from those organizations with expertise in matters concerning professionals who support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Signed and sealed this 15th day, September 2020. So we'll go ahead and we'll come down and meet you there for a picture.
Social distancing.
So we'll go ahead and we'll present this to you and we'll get this on.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more.
Smile. Yeah, smile.
I was just thinking about that.
We'll get this on. We'll get this on.
Smile with your eyes.
Thank you so much. Smile.
Thank you, guys.
I was smiling.
Yeah, I know you were.
Wave it.
I think my mask was upside down.
I think there's a back.
Okay, keep your mask handy. Just in case.
Oh, yeah, because I don't think I'm involved. I'll fix it.
Item 6B, Mayor and Commissioners, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Shannon Ulrich to allow the mayor to proclaim October 2020 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
Do we have anybody here from Shannon here? Okay, you want to come up? You want to? So we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and call for a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve, to proclaim October 2020 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So it's seconded by Commissioner Dick. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm Shannon Ulrich,
Oh, hi, Shannon.
and in 2016, my daughter was stillborn, and I learned at that time that there was absolutely no resources for our area. I had reached out to local hospitals, different organizations, churches, and while there was plenty in the way of hospice and other grief, there was nothing specifically for pregnancy and infant loss. So I set out to change that for here, because 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage and 1 in 8 end in stillbirth. So over the past 4 years, we have just been advocating and spreading awareness and trying to network with other organizations here. And so I decided that it was time that the community knows that we are here and there is support. So thank you for standing behind us. And next month we have our second official Wave of Light. Last year was our inaugural one. And so we're looking forward to that. And so I just want to thank you again and letting people know that they're not alone in this community and that there are resources and people here.
Shannon, thank you for you being here today. And we can read the proclamation here if you'd like, or if there's another place that you'd like it read, we can do that also, whatever is your choice.
Actually, if you could come to our wave of light.
No, that'd be
and read it
an
there.
honor. Yeah, thank you.
We are having it at Stevens Park. We got the official word today that we have Stevens Park
Okay.
for our event. And it will be October 15th, and it is at 7 o'clock in the evening. And the Wave of Light it's an international Wave of Light, and it was started by Ronald Reagan, who proclaimed, the 15th as Remembrance Day. And so starting at 7 p.m. all around the world, people light a candle for 1 hour, and it has a 24-hour continuous Wave of Light. So this year what we do, we have a name reading, and it's very solemn, but it's also very encouraging that people come together. Last year we had people from Syracuse and Dodge and Holcomb that came over specifically for it. So this year we're hoping it grows a little bit. Masks are encouraged, but being outside, we know that we can safely do this. So,
Shannon, thank you for your story and for the awareness you're bringing to this in your work. We really appreciate it. And we all plan to be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim September 15th, 2020 as Andy Liebelt Day in Garden City, Kansas.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve.
I'll make the motion, we approve the proclamation as presented.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And Mayor and Commissioners, that Andy's last day probably visibly doing business will occur later in the week. I do think on Friday he'll be able to join us for the ribbon cutting for the Tommy Austin Arboretum. So Andy, not everybody knows this, but Andy's had a couple stints with the city of Garden City. Originally was assistant superintendent at Buffalo Dunes Golf Course for several years, and then moved away, returned to Garden City as assistant Parks and Public Grounds Director, and then was the Parks and Public Grounds Director for a few years. Took on an Assistant Public Works Director title and responsibilities, and that came at a critical time as we were transitioning a couple of different departments. And Sam Curran, who was the Public Works Director at the time, was spread a little thin, and so that really helped to be able to have Andy elevate up into an interim Public Works Director title that continues through till today. And so Andy's just done a lot of great work. I think he's a really accomplished person. As he says, I'm a grass expert, but his talents extend beyond that. So we appreciate all he's done in all his different capacities with the city of Garden City, but particularly his leadership. So we wish Andy and his family the best as they moved to the Wichita area, and thank you for your service, Andy.
Andy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'd like to read this. Can we read this proclamation today, Matt, and then, or would you?
Yeah.
Okay, and then that way, since you're here, Andy, we'd love to get a picture with you.
Yeah.
Yep. So whereas Andy Liebelt began working for the city of Garden City on August 15th, 2013, and whereas he served as forester in the Public Works Department until he was promoted to the ground superintendent, then the assistant public work director, then interim public works director in 2020. And in good times and in difficult times, Andy has dealt with a diverse range of people in and out of the City Administration Center and provided courteous and comprehensive help to city officials, members of the public, and fellow city staff, and has always been patient and understanding. And Andy has distinguished himself as a public servant who exemplifies the organization's core values: service, performance, and community through his work. And whereas he has been identified as a hard worker and dedicated public servant, and at all times committed to helping his community with a sense of fairness, and has provided invaluable leadership and guidance on many significant projects and operations, and whereas Andy will depart from employment with the City of Garden City on September 18th, 2020, after 7 years of service with the organization. In current and past current and past staff and elected officials, as well as the citizens of our great Garden City, give their best wishes to Andy on his future endeavors. Now therefore, I, Troy R. Unruh, Mayor of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2020 as Andy Liebelt Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to his community, and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as a public servant for the city of Garden City. Signed and sealed this 15th day of September 2020. Congratulations, Andy. So we'd like to get a picture with you if we can.
Commissioners, item 6D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim September 18th, 2020 as Cynthia Beasley Day in Garden City, Kansas.
So I'll call for a motion.
I'll make the motion. We approve the proclamation as presented.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Euler. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And Mayor and Commissioners, Cynthia, in her career with the city of Garden City, also someone that served in multiple roles, valuable and talented employees are exemplified not only by the quality of the work that they do, but also their responsiveness to the needs of the organization at different times. And Cynthia certainly is characteristic of that, and she has served us well both in municipal court and with the fire department. She will be missed, but we are excited for her as she enters into retirement, and we hope that is super enjoyable, and we appreciate Cynthia's service to this organization and this community very much over the last several years. So thank you, Cynthia.
So we're going to read the proclamation from here, and then we'll call you up for a picture, and then we'll see if we can gather everybody around. For those of you who can't see, there's incredible support for Cynthia here. I mean, of some of the people that she impacts on a daily basis, but you've really impacted our community in many ways. And I remember meeting you first at Leadership Garden City and being totally overwhelmed and impressed by you, so thank you so much. So here's a proclamation. Whereas Cynthia Beasley has begun working for the city of Garden City on June 1st, 1993, and whereas she served as court administrator until she was moved to the fire department as administrative assistant on April 22nd, 2013. And Cynthia provided exceptional care to the city of Garden City throughout her tenure in the municipal court department and the fire department. And Cynthia has distinguished herself as a hardworking and dedicated public servant, at all times committed to helping her community. And whereas her colleagues know her as dependable, hardworking co-worker and friend who takes pride in her work in the community and who is ready to lend a helping hand whenever needed. And whereas Cynthia will retire from the employment with the city of Garden City on September 18th, 2020, after 27 years of service. And whereas current and past staff and elected officials, as well as the citizens of our great Garden City, wish Cynthia joy and prosperity in retirement. Now, therefore, I, Troy R. Unruh, Mayor of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September 18th, 2020 as Cynthia Beasley Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for her service to her community, and highly commend her for the manner in which she has carried out her responsibilities and duties as a public servant for the city of Garden City. signed and sealed this 15th day of September 2020. Thank you so much. So we'll get all your coworkers, if we can get all that, will that work for everyone? You guys can all come out there and gather around.
We'll let you guys take the picture.
Yeah, we're getting good at this.
I'll tell you, the people of Lander people, that's what it is.
We'll just do ours Friday. That's fine. Yes, very much. We'll just do ours Friday.
Wow, we're gonna come in.
You want the other guys to come?
And the newbies. Yeah, yes. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, gotta get this guy. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this year, Matt. No one else can leave. No one else, don't even think about it. So,
I'm all for that.
that's right, no one else. That's some incredible talent, and so what a neat opportunity for us to be able to do that, so.
We're ready for report of the city manager. Would like to invite Chief Utes up to recognize some officers and their performance. Chief?
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Today, we're going to, the City of Garden City and the Police Department would like to recognize Officers Isaac Gonzalez and Jesse Hernandez as being recipients of the Kansas Association of Chiefs of Police Silver Award for Life Saving. Both officers were awarded the Silver Award in recognition for their life-saving efforts in 2019. The Silver Award is given for extraordinary action which directly contributes to the significant prolonging or actual saving of a life. On August 30th of 2019, Officers Gonzalez and Hernandez were dispatched to assist Finney County Emergency Medical Services in reference to a juvenile male who was choking. When the officers arrived, they found a 7-year-old male on the floor in the kitchen not breathing. Officer Gonzalez and Hernandez immediately assessed the child's condition and began rendering CPR. Upon the arrival of EMS, both officers continued to assist, and the child eventually regained a heartbeat. The child was transported to the emergency room at St. Catherine's Hospital and later life watched to Wichita for surgery. Due to the quick actions of Officer Gonzalez and Hernandez and the early implementations of CPR, the child survived and has made a full recovery. Officers Gonzalez and Hernandez were recognized with the GCPD Life Saving Award at the annual Department Awards banquet in January of 2020. Officer Gonzalez was awarded the GCPD Life Saving Award for 2 additional life-saving incidents in 2019, which were submitted to KCP for consideration as well. The officers were to be recognized at the annual KCP Valor Awards banquet in April 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the reception was canceled and it was the decision of the board that we go to the commission meetings and recognize the officers there. Both of our officers have served in law enforcement for over 5 years. It is my pleasure to bring forward both Officer Gonzalez and Hernandez, and Mayor and Matt, if you'd like to help me present these awards to them, it'd be my privilege for you to come forward too. So both Jesse and Isaac come forward. Put my mask on. You know you're all protected. I'd also like to thank both their spouses for joining us at today's event. They came in from where they've been busy too in their lives and came in to see their significant others get recognized. So thank you both for joining us too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's right. Forever changing in not only a child's life, but the family's life. That's got to be, thank you.
Items B through E are staff reports. If you have any questions regarding those reports, we'd be happy to try to answer those. If not, we call your attention to the meetings of note. It's nice to see some things on the meetings of note. It's kind of growing back to it usual length. We would add the October 15th at 7 p.m. at Stevens Park event for the Wave of Life. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting. And I believe we addressed in the pre-meeting workshop just to call your attention to the League of Kansas Municipalities annual conference. It's being held virtually this year, but if you're interested in, I think the format they're doing it, you can watch it when they air it live, but it will also it's sort of pre-recorded and material, so you could watch it at your convenience. And if that's later in the evening or 3 weeks later, that's fine. So if you're interested in registering for that event, please get with Celine. I think we're ready for item 9A. It's the Appropriation Ordinance, and if approved, it would be number 2515-2020A.
I'm going to move that we approve the Appropriation Ordinance number 2515-2020A.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 10A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the following ordinance regarding improvements to its public water system and parks, and to acquire public safety and fiber optic communication equipment. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2878-2020. Melinda?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. What we're looking at today is we've got some interest rates that are currently at a very low rate, so we decided that we would get a hold of our financial advisor, Brett Sjogren, to give us some advice moving forward on some GO bond issues. We currently have some refunding issues that we can look at, so it would be to our benefit to issue some new money issues that we could combine with these refunding issues. So we took a look at some projects that we currently have in the city now that we're going to need debt financing on, and one of them is the 2020-2021 water system improvements with a total estimated cost of $2 million. And this is to engineer and construct a 16-inch water transmission line from 4th and Maple to the Jameson Energy Center. There's currently an industrial type prospect that would need this service. Right now, we're looking at some improvements at Southeast Community Park. Currently, you have a parking lot out there, and we hope to use some funds here to include an ADA, restrooms, shade structures, playground equipment, and those estimated costs are roughly $1 million. There will be a trail that we currently have funds for to go around that park. Another item that we looked at in the 2021 budget request from the fire department was the Pierce enforcer pump. We were going to do a lease purchase on that over 10 years, but historically GO bonds are a lesser interest rate than a lease purchase. So we're authorizing that project to be in this ordinance for you. And then also we've got the dedicated fiber optic project that I think you all know about. If we don't happen to get funding through any sort of grant sources, we're going to need funds to pay for that to go out to the airport. So those are all under your home rule authority. So if these projects, if they're approved, they will be part of the 2020 GO bond issue. Also included in this bond issue will be the redemption of the 2020 temporary notes that we did for the aquatic facility and the East Side Drainage Project. At the present time, there are 6 bond issues outstanding that can be called and refinanced that currently show a savings of $135,000. That's very rare for the city to have
Yeah,
something
that's
that we can call because our interest rates are normally pretty low, and then the bond issue is pretty short. So we have a pretty good opportunity here to have some savings. So the general obligation bond is scheduled for Tuesday, October 20th, with a closing on November 17th. What I'm asking for in this ordinance is just to approve these projects to be included in the GO bond issue.
Does anybody have any questions for, or do you go ahead and put a motion on?
Just going to make a motion to we
Okay.
approve ordinance 2878-2020.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I do want to say, Melinda, how I really appreciate not only the savings, but the work that the staff has went through. And this is, like you said, it's rare, and so this is really a unique opportunity for us.
It is.
Some great projects. Any other further discussions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Very good.
Then item B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the projects to be authorized in the 2020 general obligation bond issue. If approved, it would be Resolution 2859-2020.
Okay, so bear with me here. There's a lot of moving parts in this memo, and I'll try to explain it as best I can. Interest on municipal bonds are at some of the lowest rates that the city has experienced. Previously issued bonds for the city have received very low rates due to the short term of issuance and the city's municipal bond rating with Moody Investors Service. Nonetheless, staff contacted Stifel Public Finance with Brett Sjogren requesting that the city bond issues be analyzed for any refunding opportunities. The city's debt policy states the following. As a general rule, current refundings will be undertaken only if the present value savings of a particular refunding will exceed 2% of the refunded principal. Advance refundings will be undertaken only if the present value savings of a particular refunding will exceed 2% of the refunded principal. The city has 3 bond issues, Series 2010B, 2011, and Series 2012B, that show present value savings of approximately 3.644% that qualify as a current refunding. A current refunding means the bonds are currently callable and proceeds from this issue will pay the bondholders. Now, 3 more bond issues, Series 2013A, 2013B, and 2014B, qualify as advanced refunding. And they show a present value savings of 3.108%. And advance refunding means that the bonds are callable within the next year, so the proceeds from this new issue will go to an escrow account with the state treasurer, with the bondholders receiving payment at a future date. One unique aspect of a refunding bond series is that the city and the underwriter can negotiate the sale and pick the bond sale date. If this date does not show the result that we had expected, we can actually move the date. Now, this cannot be done with a public offering, which is what normally all of you are used to. The second aspect is the fact that you can add new projects, which we would add those new projects that you just previously authorized to the negotiated bond sale. If this was a new money project issue only, which is what we have done in the past, it would have to go to a public bond sale for principal amounts over $2 million. So we have a unique opportunity here in a negotiated sale. Lastly, bond issuance costs are less due to the fact that the underwriter cannot charge for an underwriter fee and a financial advisor fee. On this issue, on this issue of this size, it saves the city roughly $150,000 in additional principal issuance. So the staff reviewed the capital items for debt financing and are proposing the following projects to be included and the new money projects for the 2020 general obligation bond sale with the estimated costs. We've got the aquatics facility at $13,500,000, east side drainage at $2 million, water improvements at $2 million, the fiber project at $1 million, the fire truck at $800,000, and Southeast Community Park at $1 million. These projects, along with the refunding and advance refunding issues, make up the total principal issuance of $22,970,000. Debt service for all the new projects are for 10 years, with the exception of the aquatics facility, which is at 20. Section 5 of this resolution authorizes the mayor to execute the bond purchase agreement between the city and the underwriter on the day the bonds are sold, provided the bonds are sold within the parameters set out in Section 5. This is necessary because the bonds will be sold and priced a few days ahead of the City Commission meeting where the ordinance and resolution authorizing the bonds will be adopted. So you've got some alternatives here. You can either adopt this or defer it to a later date. Staff recommends that the resolution be approved. The fiscal note, the annual debt service for the new projects, with the exception of the water project, will be made from the bond and interest fund, with the first payment in 2021. Now, I know we've already approved that budget, but we've got some money that we can carry over from the big pool operating account and also from the information technology budget that will be transferred to make this payment. The water improvement project will be budgeted using the cash carryover that we had in the fund at the end of 2020. We've got some attachments here that we can take a look at if you want to do that before you finish up this item. It's got the calendar in there. Of course, today's date is September 15th. As you can see, between September 15th and the October 20th date, there is a lot of information that gets produced. We will be receiving a Moody's rating, hopefully by Monday, October 12th. And then there's also, to show you some of this information. Here's the current refunding. Shows the debt, the bond debt that we're going to be refunding, with the savings on the current refunding of $32,076 approximately. On the advance refunding, there is a savings of $106,381 on those issues. And then here, this one's kind of interesting here. It shows all your projects. When you have an interest rate that is so low, the bonds are going to be sold above par. So you're going to get a reoffering premium as a revenue line item when you sell these bonds. So you're going to actually issue less debt than you are for the project. So if you just take a look at that very first column, you're going to have a par amount on the bonds for the water project at 1.8, but you're going to have refunding premium that's going to add into that, and then your use of funds shows $2 million for your construction. So it's a totally different world that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. The last time we refunded bonds was in the middle 90s.
Wow.
So.
Well, yeah, you authorize for $22 million and then you get $20 million after the refund. That's amazing.
So anyway, that's how that works. And then I think on the next one, Matt, if you can scroll down, it'll show the debt service on the projects. I think you might be real interested in the aquatics facility. It's roughly $870,000 a year on that. We were looking at $950 to $980. So it's that's a real good savings there.
Does anybody have any questions? Really excellent work.
I make the motion, we approve Resolution 2859-2020.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Cessna.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second? second by Commissioner Ortiz. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Yeah, that was
you.
complicated, but yeah.
Item 10C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the attached resolution allowing Garden City to participate in the Kansas Moderate Income Housing Grant Program for the Columbus Edition project on behalf of American Warrior Construction. Carol?
Or Melissa.
Or Melissa?
Mayor and Commissioners, afternoon. We bring before you an application from American Warrior Construction to apply for the MIH program here in Garden City. The Moderate Income Housing Program allows cities within Kansas with populations fewer than 60,000 to request grants or loans. They will be asking for a grant. The limit to the loan is $400,000 per awardee, and the program will have nearly $2 million to award various projects throughout the state of Kansas. For the 2020 program, Garden City has one applicant, American Warrior Construction. They are the developer of Columbus Edition, which is located at 1601 West Joe Avenue on the west side. The developer is asking for the maximum amount of $400,000 to develop single-story and two-story duplexes. This grant will be used solely for construction costs of the duplexes. This development overall will provide 226 new units of housing for Garden City. The property is in the comprehensive plan as 2 or more family residential. The property is zoned properly at R-3 multifamily residential districts. This agreement does not vest any rights or privileges to the developer for the development of this property, and the developer has completed the plan review process, so it's a site ready to build, minus installation of infrastructure and the housing. The alternatives before you, as a governing body, you may approve the resolution or you may not approve the attached resolution. Staff recommends alternative 1, the governing body approve the resolution. There is no fiscal obligation to the city. The developer is pursuing a grant.
And so currently, they need this approval will enable them to go ahead and pursue the grant, is that correct?
Correct.
Just want to make sure I understood.
Do we have
Do we have a motion?
resolution number?
A resolution number? Do you know what that resolution is?
2860-2020.
I move that we approve Resolution 2860-2020.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Dick. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Euler. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Good job.
Item 10D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance to annex 7.09 acres of public right-of-way on Jenny Barker Road, north of Shulman Avenue to South Mary Street, K156. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2879-2020. Carol?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Okay, so we're working on the Jenny Barker project, which is one of the tax funds projects. And as we're working on this, we had it planned out from the beginning that the city would take over the maintenance of Jenny Barker. It's the county's right now. We're increasing the size of the road, making it more of a city street. There will be 3 lanes with a passing lane the whole way. And so the idea is, since the city's going to be taking care of it, let's just go ahead and annex it into the city since it's not right now. So that's what you have before you is an ordinance to annex this in. We did have to take this before the Finney County Commission first, and they did approve a letter recommending approval of this ordinance to bring Jenny Barker into the city. So if you have any questions, staff definitely recommends approval of this. I can answer any questions you might have on this project.
So if not, we'll go ahead and call for a motion. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve ordinance 2879-2020.
So Commissioner Cessna makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So seconded by Commissioner Ortiz. Any further discussion? I know that this was the original intent all along, and so that's good to get this
Yeah.
done early. So.
Yes, yes.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item 10E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance issuing a 10-year telecommunications franchise agreement to Ideatech Telecom LLC from Buehler, Kansas. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2880-2020.
Good afternoon,
Mike.
Mayor and Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, Matt, didn't mean to cut you off. As Matt alluded to, this would be a 10-year franchise for telecommunications with Ideatech Telecom LLC out of Buehler, Kansas. This ordinance would create a 10-year telecommunications franchise with Ideatech Telecom LLC pursuant to KSA 12-2001. Ideatech will connect to their existing fiber facilities here in Garden City, and they're looking to expand their service throughout the community. As a condition of this franchise ordinance, Ideatech Telecom LLC is required to obtain and be responsible for any necessary permits, licenses, certifications, grants, registration, or any other authorization required by an appropriate government entity, including but not limited to the city, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, or the Kansas Corporation Commission, the KCC. Ideatech Telecom LLC shall provide the city with copies of all the required permits and shall also comply with all applicable laws, state statutes, and ordinances. This authority to occupy the public right-of-way shall be granted in a competitively neutral and non-discriminatory basis and not in conflict with state or federal law. The franchise will be effective for a 10-year term, then automatically renewed for an additional 5-year term. Either party can terminate the agreement with the 180-day written notification. So your alternatives today would be to approve the ordinance authorizing this franchise agreement with Ideatech Telecom LLC, or do not approve the ordinance. Staff recommends alternative 1. The fiscal note is that Ideatech Telecom LLC will pay the city of Garden City on a quarterly basis a sum equal to 5% of their gross receipts pursuant to the KSA 12-2001, and that's the same requirement that anybody else that has a franchise agreement in Garden City pays. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is that 5%, is that for 10 years, or is that the life?
5% every year of their gross revenues for that 1 year.
For that 1 year?
Yep, and then the next year it's 5% of the same fee.
So after 10 years, they'll have to either renew, do they renew the franchise, or do
Yes,
they
sir.
have the opportunity to renew the franchise?
In 10 years, if no one objects, it will automatically renew for 5 years.
Okay.
And then, but if either party objects, they can come back in, and as long as we give 180 days written notice, then the franchise could be stopped by you.
Does the franchise fee, so I'm just, where does it go in the budget line item? Is it just in the general fund, or is it?
It's a
Okay.
general fund revenue.
Okay, I couldn't remember where. All right.
I make the motion we approve ordinance 2880-2020.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Sesson. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dick. Any further discussion?
I had one question though,
Okay.
on, as far as right-of-way goes, do we have anything in there as far as stipulations if they were to damage any lines of,
Mhm.
other than their own? Okay, yeah,
Yeah, that falls with the permits they have to apply for.
okay.
And all of the permits need to be signed off by Public Works, the utilities, everybody signs off on it. If they tear anything up, they're responsible to pay for that.
All right.
Great. Any other further questions? If not, we'll go ahead and we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Item 11A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the low qualifying bids for the Campus Drive Road Improvement Project to repair broken concrete panels on Kansas Avenue, Campus Drive intersections at Kansas Avenue and Fulton Street, and an asphalt mill and inlay at various locations on Campus Drive. Andy?
Good afternoon again. Now I'm on the right side.
Yeah.
So, July 7th meeting, the governing body agreed to enter into an agreement with KDOT for a supplement to agreement number 6519 for a lump sum payment of $433,073 for surface improvements on Campus Drive. And it was noted at that meeting that with that money, on the recommendation from staff to the governing body, that we would fix the intersections that bookend Campus Drive on Fulton and on Kansas, and repair some mill and inlay areas on some asphalt on Campus Drive. So Adam with engineering got busy, put a bid out, and we bid it with two different end dates. And the base bid was to be completed prior to November 20 of this year, with a notice to proceed as early as September 21st. And also with an alternate bid that shall be completed prior to May 14, 2021, and no individual closures may exceed 14 calendar days, no closures over the Thanksgiving or Christmas and New Year holidays, those times. And so we did not receive any bids for the early to finish in 2020. We received 2 asphalt bids for Schedule B, which would be in May, and then 1 to do the concrete work. And as you see on the table, the bids below, Klotz Sand and Asphalt Paving of Holcomb was the low Schedule B bid, but failed to meet the bid requirements for the following reasons: failure to provide a bid signature, a form and signature page, and bid certification, failure to provide bid security or bid bond, and the third one, failure to provide signed subcontractor form, is really more just a formality. That wasn't provided. They would do the work themselves, but we didn't have any documentation saying they would do the work themselves. And so it is the opinion of staff that the condition of the road will not be, also to push it into May, not significantly affected by traffic. We can fix the potholes, continue to fix those until we're able to finish in May. I know that's come up, questions in commission meeting before, and staff has been out there, street staff has been out there repairing that on Fulton as it needs, and they would continue to do that. And so the alternatives would be to declare Klotz bid unresponsive and award alternative B Schedule A bid to B&B of Halstead, Kansas, in the amount of $258,696.25, and the alternative Schedule B bid to APAC in the amount of $163,135, for a total project cost of $421,831.25 to be completed by May 14th of 2021. Alternative 2 would be to deny the same of what I just read in alternative 1, and 3 would be to direct staff to all other alternatives, and staff would recommend alternative 1. And on the fiscal note, we would ultimately pay this with the money from that agreement. And just a note for you to know, the engineer's estimate on this project was $429,600, and to move for APAC and Bryant came in at $421,831.25, which is about $7,700 under the engineer estimate.
That's great. So Andy, so is this where you have to do the work before you can get reimbursed from the state, or you just have to?
We just haven't received the check yet, and we would take it out of just street funds and then put that money back into there. I'm assuming that we should see that money pretty soon. It should be in our hands before we have to make this payment on that late start date.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Are we awarding the 161,135.6, or are we doing the? There's 2 different numbers, 163, 135.
Looks like at $135 and.
I may have an error in there then.
Yeah, in the alternatives, I think it's stated 163, 135.
Yeah, there very well could be an error here.
It's up in your matrix.
In the table.
Up at the table.
Okay, so that's wrong. It's the 163, 135.
Okay, that's in the alternative.
Yes, that's an error.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to approve alternative 1.
Okay.
Is that right?
I'll second.
Okay. Yeah, so it's been moved by Commissioner Ortiz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cessna. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, Andy.
The one I approve, I stumble on.
That's okay.
That's why we do it that way.
That's right,
Yeah,
yeah.
read that whole
That's-
thing.
yeah. That was a long one to read, so
It
thank
was
you.
a test.
Yeah.
11B, the governing body is asked to consider 3 buy-up options as part of the Garden Rapids project at the big pool.
Good
Jennifer?
afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I am before you this afternoon with kind of a follow-up from our last meeting. If you remember, we left a couple of things unfinished, and so we are here today to finish those. If you remember, the 3 items that we talked about were the wall tile in the bathhouse, which is the additional wall tile outside of the showers. The second item is the mill and overlay of the parking lot, and the third item is the window situation that we talked about. And just to remind you, with the window situation, what is included in bid package 2, which is what you all approved, is the current windows that are there with the screening removed and have them painted. The 2 options that are now before you, if you guys all remember, Commissioner Ortiz had an idea to get a bid from local to replace the windows with obscure glass, and so we did price that out. McCowan Gordon priced that out. I did not price that out. And so you can see the cowl wall is $11,586, and the replacement of the window is $6,655. So good price, for both of those, and you could really go either way on that one. But they did a nice job bringing that in. So those are the 3 options that are before you today. I'm happy to answer any questions you've had in the meantime. If you've taken a look at anything, or if you've had any thoughts about it, McCowan Gordon is also here, and they are happy to answer any questions on any of these 3 as well. And then if you are ready to move forward, of course, you have the option to select make a buy-up on any one of those options, all 3 of those options, or some combination of those. Just make sure that you tell us exactly how you're going to approve it.
Mayor, I know you had some concerns on the parking lot. Did you ever go over and kind of?
And I thank you for asking. I mean, the thing is that we're going to have this incredibly brand-new facility, and, not having, and you're just seeing the work they've done recently at the zoo just today, but I would hate not to replace the parking lot. I mean, $90,000 is a lot, but I mean, again, this is a state-of-the-art facility. I mean, of all of the buy-up options that we're looking at, that's one I think would be worth it. I do appreciate our discussion last time about the tile, that it's really nice, but it might not be necessary, and I think the cleaning and those kind of things. But anyone else have any other? I like the windows too.
And the mill and overlay, that doesn't include striping, correct?
That does include the
It does
striping.
It does?
striping.
Okay, yeah, it was, okay, good.
Okay.
Any
And then
other
gum
comments?
picking, that includes, no, I'm
Yes.
kidding.
No.
3 years.
That's an additional option we can press.
Yeah.
Appreciate the getting the extra bid for the windows and doing your
Sure.
deals.
And we did engage a potential local vendor partner for that as
Nice.
well.
It's good to keep local involved, so appreciate it.
Commissioners, any other comments on any of these alternatives that you?
I agree with you on the mill and overlay. I mean, we're getting a new facility. They have heavy equipment sitting in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
it's-
You have this brand-new facility, and then you have this parking lot where I think if we start off fresh, new look, everything's fresh and inviting for the community, as well as people that come in from other areas to participate in this great facility that we're building. I think it's a great option that we need to really look at and probably approve.
Yeah, I agree on the parking lot as well. I think that for all the reasons you both stated, I think it makes sense to do it that way. And as far as the tiles, I mean, I understand the staff issue, and so I would agree with them on that. The windows, I
Yeah.
could go either way.
Well,
so.
that's the thing, is when we're talking about the durability, I'm guessing is the difference in the call wall versus the obscure glass, right? What's the,
Not
it's half the
necessarily.
price.
Yeah.
So,
I do appreciate that, we've not had an issue with vandalism or, that we're at the big pool. I mean, that I know of, and there hasn't been broken windows in the, has there been?
Well, the top ones have not been broken.
Okay.
The top ones that have the metal screens over them have never been broken. We did have a broken window on the back side, the ones that are lower that you can reach.
Oh.
These ones are much higher. If you kind of have ever stood next to the building, they're not, somebody would have to throw a rock or something like that. And they're not generally the windows that someone would climb into or be trying to gain access to. So typically they're not the ones that somebody would be trying to break. I think the way that McCowan Gordon explained it to me is that either one, something could puncture, whether you have the cowl wall or whether you have the windows, either one could be punctured. The difference would be if you had a window, it would break differently than if you have the cowl wall, it breaks the spot that the item goes through. Am I explaining that correctly, Todd?
Yes, that's correct.
And then, so the repair of the call wall, that can't be done here locally, can it, or no? Could it be done locally, or you'd have to, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to engage someone to come out and repair or replace the glass. You would just have to contact your local glass vendor and order your tempered glass.
And just to be local, I mean, I think we've got a fabulous city on. If something happened during the night, they're gonna come out or
Yeah,
send somebody out that night to at least temporary, put wood up or something.
So the consensus I'm hearing, you want to go ahead and make a motion?
I'll just make a motion that we approve the buy-up to include the mill and overlay in the parking lot instead of the seal coat for the $90,122, as well as the buy-up option, including the 53 by 36 aluminum framed windows with the satin obscure glass for $6,655.
So we've got those two approved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So it's been seconded by Commissioner Buehler. Any further discussion or questions for anybody? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Anything else, Jennifer?
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioner says too. I mean, I'm sure the look on my face is saying it because I just want to get on to this part.
It's another surprise.
It's not another surprise. It's the same surprise that I had last time. It's just that I actually have someone here to back up all of the random statements that I made to you at the last meeting. And so I'm going to let Todd tell you a little bit about the person who's here to talk to you, and then we'll get on to that.
Thanks, Jennifer. Mayor, Commissioners, we have Brian Faulkner. He is the Splashtacular Vice President of Operations, and he has a short presentation put together on the slipstream, and I think we've been calling it the stand-up slide, but he's happy to answer any questions you have and tell you a little bit more about the products, where they come from, and how everything is put together. So here's Brian Faulkner.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. All right, well, you guys, I have some handouts here if you guys would like these a little bit more in person, so let me know. All right. Perfect. Well, Todd, I appreciate the introduction. Again, my name is Brian Faulkner. I'm the VP of Operations for Splashtacular. So first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to supply what has been approved, bid package 1, I believe, and we're incredibly excited, and hopefully you are too. Along those same lines, we were doing a lot of mulling over on our end. With our executive management team, we decided that you guys kind of have a one-of-a-kind slide complex going into Garden City, and I mean that, and I'm going to go into more detail. With that, we wanted to complement this with Slipstream. This is a stand-up water slide. So we'll start with flight time. You guys already have 2 slides that are nowhere to be found pretty much in the U.S. There is a park down in Waco, Texas. They have something similar. I wouldn't say it was done professionally. It was kind of put together, but it works, and it works successfully. We've been doing this for 24 years, coming on 25 years. We've got slide designers, slide engineers, so we put our heads together and we came up with flight time that we pitched to you guys, and you guys approved. These are going to be something that people are going to come from all over. I can tell you that I recently left Missouri, took my family down to Waco to ride those slides, so I think there's going to be a lot of that. So with that said, Slipstream is also a one-of-a-kind. This can be one-of-a-kind to your guys' facility. I do think it would be a good fit. There is this is not new to the industry, it's new to the US. These slides are all over Europe. So they were first to the punch on this one. Our president actually rode, he went over to Europe and rode half a dozen of these. And he is a very conservative guy. He needs to be as our president, but he came back and he was ecstatic. He said, Brian, this is the greatest ride. And so we started looking at this, and we started looking at just pictures, and we started developing tooling drawings, and we came up with Slipstream. So this is the first stand-up water slide. The inside mold, I'm gonna step back a little bit, the inside mold is 48 inches tall. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna recommend that a 53-inch rider height, and that way it's adequately balanced and all that. The proper riding procedure is, if you guys look at the photo that I kind of passed around, the image up here is great, but that photo speaks volume. So it might look like this was put up in a backyard, it was, but this was done for a reason. So again, not new to the industry, new to the US. So we wanted to try it out. So we invested a couple $100,000 in tooling. We put this thing together, we put it up, and we rode it, and we rode it. And as you can see there, the proper riding position that we have come up with is all of your weight is on your forearms, and that's all your balance. So first thing you think of with a stand-up water slide is, oh my gosh, you're gonna fall down. Your entire weight is all rested on your forearms and arms, and you're sliding down this slide. In conjunction with that, I'm gonna step away from the mic. Your feet are gonna be kind of like Heelys. If you've seen those shoes and those kids going down there and they got Heelys, you're basically like this. What I found when I was riding the slide is that the more you ride it, the more you get that technique down, and the more you can improve on that, better and better and better. So I know you guys have asked the question, why is Garden City gonna be the first? And why was this on the original bid package for several $100,000? So again, you guys approved an immaculate slide complex. The original Slipstream included off the highest tower, and it was the better part of almost 400 lineal feet long. We have now since dropped this down to the lower platform, and it's maybe a little over 150 foot long. It's still a good slide. We felt like it was a really good investment on our part. It's close to our headquarters is Paola, Kansas. So we're 6 hours away. We're a Kansas company. So we thought that how cool would it be to get our marketing team close, or within 6 hours, to be able to market this, to be able to help you guys build this and really sell it to the public. Again, Slipstream and Flight Timer slides that you're not gonna find in Dodge City, or you're not gonna find in Salina at Kenwood Cove. This is something that people are gonna come all over. So I have been presented with a few bullet items, and I'm fairly certain they came from you guys. So again, why was Garden City chosen? We felt like Slipstream really complemented the already existing ride complex that was approved. Is there any further questions in that regard?
Just looking at this, so this is mainly for adults then, and not kids,
Well,
right?
so that's interesting. So I pulled up a chart. A 53-inch tall child. It could be 9.5 years old. So my son is a year older, and he is 5 inches taller than that. So I think that's a good average, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily all for adults. I think that platform where this is housed is gonna be perfect, because I think we can come up with a good formulated height. That way the attendant, which goes into that, another bullet point was potential operating costs. So we're not asking you to add an attendant, we're asking that attendant to now do dual effort, which is not uncommon in the industry. So maybe we come up with that perfect sweet spot of a height recommendation that we all feel comfortable with. That attendant can help monitor those people down there to go off those 2 slides.
Okay.
So if they do slip, are they able still to go down? Like, say that you
Yeah.
can't, maintain your...
Most definitely, yeah, and that's a good question. So this slide is 7 degrees, incredibly flat. At the entry, it's 0. At the exit, what we call the run out period, is 0. So you have a 7-degree slope all the way down, not fast at all. So I think we ran some velocity rates on this. It's probably a 3 to 6 mile an hour average ride, mile per hour. You might get somebody that gets really good, like mayor. He might go down it 6 or 7 times.
Sorry, that'll probably be someone else, yes.
And you might get really good, and you might get upwards of 9 miles an hour. It's not a fast slide. You guys have already facilitated that. You've got a body slide, which is going to be a good speed ride. You've got your flight time rides, which are going to be very exhilarating. So this is really going to be more of a technique slide and something that you go down and, man, I figured that out. I want to go do it again and again and again and again.
I do sense some competition on speed, so that could be, yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
I won the race on the carousel, so no more competition.
Well, good news is part of our commissioning process is myself included, we're going to come out here and we're going to ride every slide. We're going to break it. We're going to do everything that we tell you guys not to do. We're going to do it because we know it happens.
Yeah.
So that's part of the commissioning slide. So we're going to ask that every one of you take part in that. So let me know if there's any other questions with those 2 bullet points that I covered.
Any questions or comments?
No,
This is really
Well, thank you very much
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
considering us.
And hey, I apologize if that perception came across how it was originally on there, but again, this was something that was such a neat ride complex that we felt like this just really complemented it well, so.
Well, and being a Kansas company, that, I had no idea. That's.
Well, and let me add just a little bit more to that. We pride ourselves on this. We are 100% USA made. So our competitors all have product coming from overseas. Our fiberglass plant is in Hastings, Nebraska, just right north of you guys. Our steel plant is in Leavenworth, Kansas, and our headquarters is out of Kansas as well. So we take huge pride in that specific point right there, just from a quality and workmanship, and we don't go through layers upon layers. You guys call, you're going to be able to get a hold of us. So.
That's great, yeah. Yeah, at least you know how to get out here. Some people, they're, southwestern Kansas.
It was, I'm regretting getting up at 3:30 and hitting the road this morning, but it was a long drive. But I will say it makes you appreciate things when you look at the farmers out there and everything. It makes you appreciate life. So.
Well, thank you so much. Any other questions or comments?
No, again, thank you for considering our water park. When it was mentioned at our last commission meeting, I was shocked. I was like, this is great. That
Yeah, too good to be true. I know, trust me. That's what I told Alex, our president. I said, they are probably thinking, what's the catch? And there isn't. I mean, we want to be able to promote this, and it's close to our headquarters too, so.
Again, thank you. It's great to see, and it'll be an absolutely fabulous addition to our water park.
Appreciate that.
And we knew Jennifer will do her due diligence to make sure, there were no, she was. So this has been this is a really neat opportunity. Anybody else have questions or comments? Thank you for making the trip out and that for everything.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'd recommend a short break. Our next item requires a phone call to outside counsel, and so in order to have a little bit of time to dial those up, we have time for just a short break.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah,
2:18.
2:18.
Does that work? Okay. Or recess until 2:18, and we'll come back.
53 inches.
You make it.
I was worried when you said kids. I'm like, I'm a kid.
So am I.
I mean, I'm an old kid.
I'll
When
be,
you sit
I'll
down,
go
your
down.
heels out.
I'm ready. I will. That looks fun.
Yeah.
I love
2:18, and so again, we have Mike Muirhead here. We're going to go ahead and continue with the business. Oh, here comes Matt.
Okay, yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, this item is the governing body, excuse me, is to ask to consider the selection of an electric service provider for newly annexed property located at 3455 East Highway 50. And this would be in ordinance number 2863-2020. So the governing body was provided information back at its August 18th, 2020 meeting from both Wheatland Electric Cooperative Incorporated and city staff regarding the selection of an electric service provider for newly annexed property. This is pursuant to KSA 66-1,176, as the city has an obligation to negotiate for the issuance of a franchise agreement, and pursuant to KSA 12-2001 with Wheatland Electric, since Wheatland is the retail electric supplier holding a certificate within the annexed area. On August 26, 2020, Wheatland Electric was notified that a tentative schedule of September 15th, 2020, today, had been set for the City Commission to decide on the electric service provider for this recent annexation, and if they had any additional factors for the governing body to consider, then to please send them forward and we would get them to you. We wanted those before September 4th. No additional information from Wheatland Electric was received, and the Garden City staff has no additional information to provide the governing body. The next step in the process of selecting electric service provider is that legal staff will now discuss the attached memo and options available with the governing body at today's meeting. And if you would like, Randy, I can introduce Andrew, or go ahead.
Yeah, we do have Andrew Schulte of the Polzinelli firm in Kansas City on the telephone. Andrew and his firm have been guiding us through this process most of the time when we have an annexation or any other issues dealing with the electric service providers. And Andrew put together the memorandum, which you have before you, which sets forth the proposed findings of fact and conclusions. And so I would ask Andrew if he has any comments for the governing body to address the governing body at this time.
Could you hear all that okay, Andrew?
I think so. You asked for my comments on the memorandum that has been provided?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you for accommodating me by phone, commissioners and mayor.
Thank you.
What you have before you is proposed findings of fact and conclusions with regard to two recent annexations. The West Mary Street property at 1601 West Mary Street and the Loves property at 3455 East Highway 50. As you've heard before, the statutes in Kansas require certain procedures to occur if an annexation includes territory that is in the certificated electric service territory of another provider, which in this case is Wheatland Electric Cooperative. There are certain factors set forth in those statutes that the city must review when determining whether to grant a franchise to the existing service provider or have its own city utility serve the annexed property. And so the proposed findings and conclusions go through each of those factors. And the recommendation, which is only a proposed recommendation, it can be modified or changed by the governing body. But the proposed conclusion is to award the service to the city utility, and the basis for that decision is detailed in the proposed findings and conclusions. One thing that we wanted to point out is that the projected costs that were provided by Wheatland was actually for the existing Love's store, which has not been annexed. The city is currently serving the existing Love's store. I should say it has not recently been annexed. It was annexed several years ago, and the city has been serving it ever since that time. And so the service to the Love's store is not at issue. It's only service to the adjacent property, which will be used as a parking lot. And there are only 4 parking lot lights that will be on that property. And the estimated cost from the city is $52 a month, whereas the estimated cost provided by Wheatland did not address those street lights. It addressed the Love store. So we don't have an estimated cost from Wheatland, but given the relatively low cost at issue here, $52 relative to the overall Love's electric bill is pretty minimal. The cost is not the only factor to consider. There's 11 factors in total. And so while we state that that we've got the $52 from the city and we don't have a projected cost from Wheatland, that in itself is not determinative. We also go through the ability to provide service, and the city is serving adjacent properties. And so the city is able to serve those annex properties without any cost or with de minimis cost. And then there is the overall public interest of the city serving everything within the city limits, which is the current state is the city serves everything within the city limits. And so there are some public interest benefits to that. So that's all spelled out in the findings, and certainly available to answer any questions, or if Randy or Mike have anything to supplement that presentation with, I'd be happy to hear from them as well.
Andrew, it doesn't appear that the commissioners or, go ahead, Mayor.
Well, I think the conclusion and findings it's very well done, and I think it really lays out and answers all the questions. And so especially the items, number 3, items A through K. So no, I appreciate the work on this.
Well, I would ask that whatever action the governing body takes, that it take the action for each one of the annex properties. So you'll do one motion for the 1601 West Mary Street property and then one for the Love's property. I would ask that the motion that is made either adopt the findings of fact and conclusions if in fact the motion is to adopt the same conclusion as set forth in the memorandum, or if there's a differentiation between the findings of fact and the conclusion, that the motion include the different findings that the governing body may wish to include, and also the different conclusion. Because the statute requires that the governing body adopt findings of fact and conclusions, and I would want that in the motion. You don't have to go through the whole memorandum, but I want you to find that in your motion, or include it in the motion.
Any questions for Randy or Andrew? Okay.
I make a motion that we adopt the findings of fact and conclusion and designate the city electric department as the retail electric provider for the annexed property at 3455 East Highway 50.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Cessna with the adoption of the proposed and findings, or conclusions and findings. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Dick. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. This next item, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, is the exact same thing, with the exception, this is for the newly annexed property that was located at 1601 West Mary Street, and that was done in ordinance number 2862-2020. I won't read the entire thing again. It's exactly the same as the last one. And the conclusions, I believe, that Mr. Schulte put in there are exactly the same in reference both properties. And I'll leave it at that, unless you have questions of me.
Andrew,
I'll go ahead.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know if Andrew had anything he wanted to add since you're here, or with the conclusions and findings, or the findings and conclusions, I'm sorry.
Just a point of clarification on the West Mary Street property. There's no current load, no currently active load, and there are no plans for additional load at this time. And so the cost factor under the statutory factors is cannot be addressed, but we have addressed all of the other factors, and the proposed conclusion is to allow the city utility to serve that territory.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the findings, facts, and conclusion and designate the city electric department as the retail electric provider for the annexed property of 1601 West Mary Street.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Sesson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Euler. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Andrew, thank you so much for your information and for the findings and conclusions.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Andrew.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 12B, the governing body is asked to consider, oh, no, sorry, it's 12C. The city, Garden City has been awarded funding under the FY 2020 Project Safe Neighborhoods Grant in the amount of $40,600. The governing body is being asked to consider and approve that funding. Chief?
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon again. As Matt said, we've been awarded the funding under the fiscal year 2020 Project Safe Neighborhood Grant, PSN. This is the second round of grants that we've received. We're one of two agencies across the state of Kansas that have received this grant. The initiative is to bring together federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement officials, prosecutors, and community leaders to identify the most pressing violent crime problems in the community and develop comprehensive solutions to address them. On September 8th of this year, the police department received notification that the grant award in the amount of $40,666,000. $40,666, yes. The grant period is from July 1 of this year through June 30th of 2021. The funding of the grant provided through the Bureau of Justice is a continuation of the partnership with Project Safe Neighborhoods. The personnel from the Kansas Governor's Grant program will manage the grant, as this is a pass-through grant from BJ to the Kansas Governor's Grant program. The funds will be used for the following: special operations for overtime for personnel, specialized training in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that was identified through the Project Safe Neighborhood. It'll be a site visit for the implementation of the NIBIN program, which is integrated ballistic networking, taking shell casings and ballistics and network it across the nation to see if those weapons were used in other crimes across the nation. Project Safe Neighborhood National Conference in Washington, D.C., and some investigative equipment, a forensic software that will help us in our cell phones. The alternatives are to approve the funding award through the Project Safe Neighborhood Grant, or reject the funding awarded through the grant program. As you can tell, we are recommending the governing body to approve the funding award through the Project Safe Neighborhood Grant. This is 100% funded, no match by the city.
I make the motion we approve the funding awarded through the PSN grant program.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Sessna. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Ortiz. I just want to say thank you for the breakdown, and this sounds like some really great work. Congratulations on another award. That's pretty impressive to get the grant that there is no match, so.
I will pass along to my staff who did.
Yeah, I know, I'll tell you, it's, yeah, they're worth their weight in gold, so. Any further discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. There's no, item D is an executive session. There's no action anticipated following the executive session. So the governing body would like to take up the consent agenda. It's 2 items, so the appropriate motion would be to approve items 12E 1 through 2.
So I would move that we approve items 12E 1 through 2.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So do you want to do commission reports, Matt?
Yeah,
And then we'll
That
go
would be
into
great.
the-
Then we can shut down the broadcast
Okay.
and conclude with the executive session.
Okay, we'll let Commissioner Sessna, you'd like to start?
Yeah, great morning this morning. We had the ribbon cutting at the zoo on the new exhibits, as well as the hospital facility. And then the fun carousel ride that we had, a great attraction there at the facility. We'll be seeing that on Facebook and Twitter, I assume, as well as YouTube, probably. Congratulations to our officers and their line of duty. I know it's tough, but saving lives, is a part of it. And Officer Gonzalez and Officer Hernandez, congratulations to those 2 fine officers, and to all of our men and women in blue here in Garden City. Keep up the good work. And then, of course, our staff members that are leaving us, unfortunately, Andy Liebel, going on to other things, and Cynthia Beasley in her retirement. So congratulations to them. Wanted to also mention that at the end of this month is the wrap-up of the census. Just being mindful, if you have not taken or done and completed the census, if you would do so, that would help out our community immensely. There is information on the Garden City website that you can click on that information. It's really easy. It takes 10 minutes to fill out. It's not painful at all, but we really need for you to fill out that census for us, for our community. It's vital. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yeah, just same thanks all around to what Commissioner Sessna had said for those police officers and everyone involved and for those leaving. But I also like to just kind of iterate on the census a little more, just to put in perspective, because it is coming towards the end. And I know we just need to ask everybody around us to make sure that they've been accounted for, or their friends have been accounted for, or their friends' friends, and so on. But I received an email and it said every person is about $13,500 in resources back to your community over the next 10 years. So if 1,000 people don't get accounted for in Garden City, that's $13.5 million in over 10 years that we're not getting. So yeah, just please, I'd like to just stress that we get out there and let everybody know that they're not only worth something, but they're part of our community, and we just want them to be just to serve the community in any way they can, in all the way they can. So also to give thanks, or a reminder to the, is it a slipstream that we're calling it? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's,
Yep, that's what it is.
slipstream was,
Slipstream.
that's awesome that they're wanting to just put that thing in Garden City and just have it for us. And so I think we're gonna do all we can to just kind of let everybody know where it came from. Paola, Kansas. They are a Kansas group or a company, so we like to support them the way they supported us. So thank you for the honor to, I guess, share this with everybody who comes. So
Yep, sure.
kids, old and young, can both probably get out as long as 53 inches, I guess. But I'm an old kid, so hopefully I don't break anything. Also, just fall cleanup around the corner too. That's going to start October 8th. The city does a great job on going around and picking up trash. So if you do have anything that you want to toss, or if you can't take it to the dump. There's, just put it out on the curb and the city will do their job in getting that. So thanks for their work and their hard work to keeping Garden City looking great. So that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Buehler.
I just think today was a great day to be a part of Garden City. I mean, how exciting to see all the zoo projects, especially knowing that they were, a sales tax initiative and that they were, projects, for the city, by the city, of the city. And we have a lot to be proud of with our zoo anyway, but this is just, what we saw today was just fantastic. And the carousel was a lot of fun. I'm happy to say I got on and off the ostrich just fine. But it's really neat to be able to see that. And I was just so touched to, see the care that the groundskeepers have and the zookeepers and the zoo staff and everybody involved with that project. It's just a wonderful project. So, and I think on the census, at last I heard that we were only at 54% of people who had filled it out so far. And I don't know if that's in Garden City or if that's just regionally, but I mean, we can do better. We've got to be able to get, higher than that, and we have until the end of the month. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Well, I'm running out of things to say.
Yeah, I know.
Same thing about the zoo, the amazing additions all around there, and being able to see the water park, the big pool coming along. That was really neat. That's going to be a really good corridor for families and a good draw for from everywhere from Western Kansas. And congratulations to Andy and Cynthia for the work that they've done, and hopefully they will either work hard in their new job or enjoy retirement. They can decide which one does which. That's all I have to say. Like we were saying before, make sure you do census. It is vitally important for our community.
Thank you. So yeah, it has been a wonderful day today. And so I got sidelong talking to people out at the ribbon cutting I hadn't seen forever, and so it was a lot of fun to be out and about. I just want to say the zoo staff did incredible. Jacob Stegman and his grounds crew. The transformation from when I last saw it was amazing. It was really, really well done. So the ribbon cutting was really great. I was able to attend the Mexican Fiesta, the pageant, this weekend, and man, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it. I wouldn't cut it. So yeah, these young ladies and the younger ladies are just so much fun and so much pride in the work. And it's a lot of work, and it was a really neat event. It didn't get as many people couldn't come. They had to turn people away because of the seating requirements, and that's the time we live in. I did want to highlight, we really had a good time for those of us who were able to attend. I think all of us attended over in Dodge City. We had a really good meal, but we attended in Dodge City, saw the gunfight, and with all the rest of the city commissions from Dodge City and then some of the city commissioners from Liberal, and it makes a difference, us doing work together, and I appreciate that we are really working as Southwest Kansas to really bring together our region. I do want to just thank Melinda and the staff. The GEO bond refinancing, that savings of money is absolutely incredible. I have never, there's always, you wonder how we're going to pay for things. Well, I don't know if it keeps you guys up at night. Sometimes I'm wondering how we're going to pay for things, and when we save money like that, that is incredible. And just the dedication of the staff to look for those opportunities. So I don't know how that all happened, Matt, but wow, that was neat. I do want to say thank you to Andy and also Cynthia. Well, I'll tell you, we love our staff. Our staff is incredible. Don't anyone else think about leaving this year? That's just not going to happen. I wouldn't. So we just really appreciate it. Just want to say thank you. And I finally want to end with the officers and just saying thank you for, there's lots of things that officers do in the line of duty. Saving lives, but I cannot imagine the relief and the thankfulness of that family who they saved, and just the incredible work they're doing, putting their lives on the line, especially in these times. So I just want to say thank you to our police officers and our firemen and firefighters, and so it's been a really good day. And with that, we'll call our meeting concluded.
Executive session.
Yep,
We're going to have
we
an
have
executive session.
Would somebody like to make the motion for the executive session? And then, Matt, how long will we need for the executive session?
30 minutes.
Okay.
And who do we need in it?
Myself and Randy.
I make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1 pertaining to personal matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligation, because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed. We'll have Matt Allen and Randy Grizel for how many minutes again? 30 minutes. Starting, do we want to take a break before we
can do
go in?
do you want to do 2:45 to 3:15, would that work?
Okay. 2:45 to 3:15.
Okay, that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Ortiz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.